Welcome to Mobile Rolling. After the break, it'll be my pleasure to be talking to a gentleman who has made the industry his life. He's met, interviewed, spoken to, had horses trained by some of the best people in the world. It'll be my pleasure to be talking to Paul Courts. Welcome, Paul, to Mobile Rolling.
Thanks, Gary. How are you?
Good, thank you. Well, I suppose we'll start at the start. I suppose you did go to school. I know you were born in Melbourne, so tell everybody where you were born, any brothers and sisters, family involvement, whatever. So start from there.
I was born in Ascot Vale, went to school across the road from the showgrounds. As kids, we'd be out the street playing cricket, footy, etc. And you'd see blokes walking past it with their horses, and we'd be those little kids that yell out, "Hey, mister, what's your horse's name?" And they'd say Johnny, Jack, whatever the stable name might be. And of course, that satisfied us, but for all I knew, it was Popular Run. Could have been any horse going past, but we were like, "Hello, Jack, and see you later." Yeah. So that was it. Got the two brothers and a sister. The brother closest to me, he likes having a punt, but hasn't had any horses.
So what age? So obviously they were trotting, as they called it in those days, at the showground. So did you go to the trots, and what was your involvement there as a young child, or did your parents go, or what age did you start going over to the trots?
Oh, well, my parents had no interest at all, but my mother used to work at the third floor at the Moonee Valley, which was called the Inner Circle. She got me some work there selling race books, so I was one of those little kids when I was 12 that would be running up to you as you get out your car, trying to get the sale before the other kids so I could make my 20 cents commission. From there, I started scrubbing pots at about 15. From there, I'm to the bar at 18. And then
so this was all at
Moonee Valley, Moonee Valley, yeah. And then it was on to Harness Racing Weekly, or it was called Trotting Weekly at the time.
So when you were at Ascot Vale, which is the showgrounds,
yep.
How old were you when they shifted to the Valley?
About 7 or 8.
7 or 8,
yeah,
okay.
I'm trying to think now, but yeah, about 7 or 8 to Moonee Valley. By the time I was old enough to do any work, it was already at Moonee Valley, well established there.
So when you went to Moonee Valley, what were you actually working as?
Well, like I said, I would be scrubbing pots when I was 15 out in the kitchen. Before that, I'd be selling race books and everything else.
Okay. So then you started with the Trotting Weekly, which is obviously it's New South Wales based, and it's owned by Club and Angle.
Yeah, it is these days. Club and Angle bought it out in 2001.
Who owned it then?
Well, before that it was Packer.
Oh yeah.
And then Club and Angle, which was still at Harold Park, they purchased the paper. By then the name had changed to Harness Racing Weekly. So I've been working with them.
So that was that Trotting Weekly originally?
Trotting Weekly originally.
I used to write some articles for that, and also do yearling sale features when, in those days we had 135, 140 horses in the sales in Adelaide.
Yep.
And that's that hasn't been seen for at least 25 years, I'm sure of it. So
I guess we should mention the sale coming up. They give that one a plug.
Yeah, they're trying their best to get some horses in, but unfortunately, it's a bit disappointing when you've only got a half dozen horses in it. But what can you do? They're trying their best and at least putting the product out there for people to buy.
Yep.
But yeah, it's difficult at the moment with the situation in South Australia. So getting back, so how did you come from selling race books and pots and pans to writing articles?
Well, I was doing media in year 12, and one of the things we had to do was either a short movie clip or produce your own newspaper. So I produced it, Harness Highlights. And my mum knew the woman who was in charge of the press room at Moonee Valley, and she obviously knew Bob Kane, who was the editor of Harness Racing Weekly. So she showed it to him. Bob liked what he saw, offered me some part-time work, and just went from there.
So I'm just saying quickly that by the look of your teeth, you were thinking of doing Rocky, weren't you?
No.
So either that looks like a gym accident, or or your partner Kim has sort of pulled you into line.
Well, I would say that I've never criticised her food since. Her cooking has definitely improved. No, I had an incident, and I can't get into a specialist until late next month, late April.
Okay.
So it's a little bit concerning, but
yeah, I just want people to know that Paul doesn't normally look like this.
No, Paul doesn't normally look like this,
and so we better bring that up so they know.
Yeah.
So so over the years, so it's now gone to, you know, like with Facebook and all the digital stuff. It's I suppose you wouldn't know the figures, but obviously the printed version against whatever now I don't even know whether people buy it. The printed version is still available, though, isn't it?
No, the printed version has stopped.
Has stopped now?
Has stopped. Towards the end, we were getting more hits per day than what the print version sells.
Yeah, so the other thing is, what's the connection between them and the New South Wales paper that they put out? It's owned by the same people?
Owned by the same people.
So your articles are in there as well?
Well, the paper's also shut down from them.
As well, so everything is online now?
Correct, everything's online. nationaltrotguide.com.au.
Yep.
We'll give them a plug, of course, and that's where you can read all the news.
Exactly. So over the years, one thing about you, Paul, you're not afraid of writing what you believe needs to be written. What's some of the best people you've interviewed? What's some of the best articles? What's the memorable stuff that you put up that you thought, well, I've got that one in front of everybody else, or that was a shame, or what's the sort of things that some of the articles that you've written that you've said, well, like for argument's sake, the shock of Vin Knight passing and stuff like that. That when you're a journalist, it's a great story, but it's a sad story. So you've got to be very careful, how you handle those sort of things. What's some that you may have said? Well, I was lucky enough to interview Joe Bloggs or Fred or the bloke that had, Paleface or whatever. What's some? Do you have any that stick in your mind, or they're just every week's a new adventure?
Every week's definitely a new adventure, and sometimes someone will say, "Thanks for the article you wrote on my horse last week," and I'm thinking, which article was it? I wrote that many. One that sticks out would be Danny Hill. When she came back after her severe accident, I wrote the article, I sent it up to Michael to have a look at, and he instantly sent me a message saying, "You'll win an award for this." He said, "This article's amazing." And it did go on to win a national award, but I felt the story was more amazing than what I wrote. So I think anyone could have written it. I think what Danny achieved, to come back,
exactly.
that was the amazing part of it.
If she was an Olympic athlete, she would win a gold, because there is nobody that has the will to win and determination and strength that she has. She is actually, she's a warrior. For someone that's gone through what she's gone through to continue to be at the top is nothing short of amazing. So you've won a few awards. We're not going to, that you've won them. So how many have you won? You've won, obviously, do Victorian harness racing have awards, or only the national ones?
Only the national these days. Vic did have them for a while, and I won a handful of those. Won a handful of nationals, won a handful of world ones.
So what's the world ones that you've won?
So the World Trotting Conference, they only meet every couple of years, as you know, but it got put back because of COVID. I wrote one on Karen Manning winning in New Zealand, and I told her that was our Karen, we named it, and it was more actually interviewing her mother and about how Karen has loved horses or animals in general, from the time she was a baby. It had a photo of Karen carrying a chicken around in one hand and a bottle in the other. So that won a national award.
Sauv Blanc and chicken.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, who knows what was in the bottle.
So over the years, you raced horses, did you? You had a couple?
Yeah, I had some with Graham Morgan.
Yeah.
Didn't have much luck there, and then had a long gap, raising a family, etc. And then I met Kim Proctor from here in South Australia, just over the road. And now we've got a few horses together. We've had a couple of wins and having a bit of fun.
Originally, you were writing articles, but how did you? I think you said once before to me, you and your brother were following the trots, and I think one of them was a South Australian horse, and that got you a bit keen because you'd had a collect or two.
Yeah.
What's the story behind that one?
Well, my mum, as I said, was in charge of the third floor. Her sister was in charge of the second floor. That was the members, and she'd get us members tickets, and of course she had to wear slacks and tie. So we put on our slacks and tie. We thought we were $1 million, and we backed a horse called What a Trotter. And it got up at 17, 18.
Which is a pacer that Neil Cavallaro had.
Yeah, Neil Cavallaro had it.
So it's not a trotter.
Not a trotter, ironically, yeah.
So it's false advertising, really.
It is, and it was racing around, and it
Globe Derby in Gawler, isn't it?
Yeah, Globe Derby Gawler, 30 years ago. It ran a couple of seconds, and we backed it. Got $6 or whatever it was for a placing.
So how good's this?
Oh, exactly. We thought we were millionaires. We were walking home with a pocket full of change and the suit on. We thought we were fantastic. And from that, I just kept following that horse, and then basically started following South Australia, realistically. You'd be at the pub, at the tab on a Friday night for Gawler, then you'd follow it up on the Saturday night.
So you had a horse with Graham. You have any others? Any other than the trotters you got now? You got some with Kim.
Yep, no, nothing in between.
So one of those you got there that is one that I think you got from Yabby Dam, didn't you?
Correct. They, I contacted Anton and asked, do they have a trotter going that might be suitable for Kim to have some fun with, but would still win a race. And he told me he had one that was suitable. He wanted to make sure he could get it to trot properly. So he wanted to go around at the end of the month at Ballarat, and it went around and it tailed the field. And I thought,
that's
geez,
us.
Yeah,
that's
us, exactly. He rings me the next morning and says, you know that trotter? And I was like, yeah, not exactly enthusiastic. He goes, it's yours, come and pick it up. And I said, oh, what do you want for it? He goes, nothing. He said, you've written some good articles on us in the past, you've looked after Yabby Dams and everything. He said, so we want to give you the horse as a gift. So he gave the horse to Kim, and she's had a bit of fun. We've won a couple of races.
Had a bit of fun.
Yeah.
So you've interviewed and spoken to and seen, who's the best driver you reckon you've seen or interviewed or whatever, it doesn't matter. Who in the last, since your involvement, what's the best? If someone said to you, name the best 3 drivers you've seen in Australia and New Zealand, could you narrow it down to that?
You can't narrow it down, but I guess you can't go past Gavin Lang.
No.
Cannot go past him, and even for someone to interview, someone to tell stories, you cannot go past Brian Gath. The stories that he can bring up that used to happen in this day, happen in that day, you know, whether they got on the punt or, I think he spoke about
those days are gone, aren't they?
Yeah, those days are gone, but his first couple of drives as a young kid himself, he managed to knock over Gordon Rothika. So Gordon Rothika was the champion of the time. Brian was an upstart and kept managing to knock him over for some reason.
Did we mean knock him over or beat him?
No, literally caused interference and knocked him over.
Oh, okay.
So nearly put him over the fence.
No, we have stewards now.
Yeah.
And who else? What about like you did follow the South Australian. You've been a great supporter of South Australian harness racing for a long time. You wrote articles when, you know, they think things are bad now, but there's times when you were the only one that did put your hand up and write the articles. You know what I mean? You've probably seen all the transition of, you know, well, basically most of Victoria's ex-South Australian anyway, with your Lance and John and Greg and Ross Sugars and Jeffrey Webster and a whole pile. Any of those drivers that you've seen that came over there that you thought, well, maybe they might make it in Victoria, and now they really have?
Well, I guess John was the trendsetter. He came over first, and then Lance followed. And you've got to wonder, well, will they be able to match it with the Victorians? And it just proves that over here you have the professionals, you have absolutely top horsemen and women, but if those more opportunities were here, they would probably shine a lot greater. Yeah. I mean, look at Greg Sugars, you know, as a young talented driver here, came over there, looking at kicking on.
Level.
If he stayed here, would that have happened?
No, and it's a bit like the footballers. You know, this is a great breeding ground for footballers, South Australia. Some of the greatest footballers in the AFL have come from here. They wouldn't have if they didn't go there. You know, your Gavin Wanganines and all that have just been sensational footballers. You know, so harness racing's. But I think you're right. All of the people that have gone from here are all good horsemen, not just drivers or trainers. You know.
No, they know horses. Funny you say that. Growing up as a kid, Mark Nayley came from here, and he was my favourite player at Carlton. He came from over here.
South Adelaide, yeah.
Same time they picked up Kernahan and Bradley and all that, but for some reason Mark Nayley was the one that stuck out for me. He showed guts. He showed everything.
He was good. So what about trainers? Who do you rate as the best trainers? I mean, in the recent years you've seen the Purdens and Emma Stewart and Clayton and that. Who do you classify, or do you go back to the golden era when horsemen were horsemen and it was standing starts and a whole pile of thing around the showgrounds? Who would you classify as trainers that you'd say, if I had a superstar now, I'd like him to train it?
Well, I better say Kim. If I have a superstar and I say I'm getting someone else to train it, I'll lose some more teeth.
Well, yeah, but
so we've got to say Kim.
You can get implants. You get the whole lot done.
Yeah, get the whole lot done. Well, I mean, you can't go past these days of McCarthy's, can you?
No.
You know, McCarthy's, Purdens, Emma Stewart, what she's done has just been amazing. I mean, Karen Manning, same thing.
Sat on top of the tree for a long time.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I mean, Karen's just a fantastic horsewoman. But you've got so many that probably are great trainers but don't have that horse
to the cattle to get
them on. Exactly. You know, and you know, I've got so much respect for someone like, say, David Miles. You know, he does a top job year in, year out. Whether he has a Grand Circuit horse or not, he just does a fantastic job.
All right. So what about, we better wind her all up, I think, soon. But what's your best horses you've seen? Name a couple of paces, name a couple of trotters, because I'm sure you've seen them all.
I can't go past Chokin.
In front, Sable Eyes moves to second. It's Chokin in front. Sable Eyes trying hard. Chokin in front. Chokin's going to race away with it, and Chokin brilliantly wins in 159.9.
Really?
Chokin was my favourite very early on, and now I still cannot say I've seen one better. Of course, there probably have been better, and everyone would say, what a goose. But Chokin has just always been my favourite. I probably should return his Miracle Mile saddlecloth to Harold Park one day. I'm not sure how that ended up in my bag, but it did. after he won that race.
Well, they do now. They know that you do have it, so they may be asking for that.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think Harold Park's there anymore myself. I think it's all units, but I'm sure we can drop it to someone there that lives there.
But no, Chokin was just always the horse I loved. Yeah.
And what about any others? He's just your best.
Well, realistically, I mean, I sort of, maybe I'm getting old now because I look at back in the old days as being the halcyon days. You know, you can't go past when you had Chokin, Blossom Lady, Master Musician. You think those days and you think, well, is the Grand Circuit as full as it was back then?
Oh, I'm sure it's not.
Yeah, so
I mean, you know, even when I had my horse, Major Crocker, he was probably, he was in the Inter Dominion. But, in today's, he would probably be a bit higher up in the order.
Yep.
And if you go 10 years before that, he probably wouldn't have got a start.
Yeah.
So, what about trotters? Now, surely you love the trotters.
Yeah, I do. Oh, geez, you put me on the spot. I mean, like Kookaruch, what she did was unreal.
So did you
Keystone Dell. He seems to be underrated.
Did you see Maori's Idol at all?
No, he was before my time. I'm not quite as old as you, although I am getting old. I'm not quite that far. But
I think we better wrap this up.
Yeah. I mean, when you look at records, I mean, Keystone Dell won so many big races and probably doesn't get the recognition as he did. You look at Sundance Gift, another one, La Cucaracha, sort of. I mean, Lyle Creek. Now he was Freak the Creek, wasn't he?
Yeah,
he
was a world
more
champion,
electrifying than him. But I mean, if you want to go past and you're looking at the all-time greats, you have to say things like Maori's Idol, even though they're before my time. I mean, what they managed to achieve from large handicaps, these days they'd be calling the RSPCA.
Yeah, you couldn't do that.
Exactly.
So you would have to be, because anybody else now it's print media, they don't have specified harness racing or trotting journalists anymore. So you would probably be the longest serving, oldest harness racing, because you're exclusively, that's all you write. So you would have to be, wouldn't you?
Oh, no, Michael Court, he writes for us too at nationaltrotguide.com.au.
Is he your boss?
No, he's not my boss, but he's older than me. He's let's say he's well seasoned.
Okay.
We'll just call him well seasoned. We won't call him old.
Okay.
He's just well seasoned.
Roast chicken, okay.
Yeah.
All right, look, Paul, lovely to have you over here in South Australia and finding time for the interview. I'm sure there's a lot of people that will now know a little bit more about you, other than that you need to learn to duck quicker.
Yeah. She does throw a mean left hook.
Okay. All the best. Thanks very much.
Thanks, mate. Thanks for having me.
Bye.